Well, there is news coming out of Buffalo where a grand jury dismissed the case against those Buffalo police officers who pushed a 75-year-old man to the ground and where he suffered a cracked skull. I'm sure you probably remember seeing this video. I am glad the old man I'm glad that the officers were not charged with this and it's been dismissed. I'm sad for that man who got pushed there. But he never should have been trying to stop that line of officers from doing their job. And the push was really not that violent. The man at 75 was very feeble. He literally lost his balance and fell, and almost immediately officers rendered aid. And yet there were many that wanted these officers charged, of course, with a crime for what I believe was simply doing their jobs. To discuss, I want to welcome columnist and contributor at The First, Madison Giziotto. Also with us, filmmaker and content creator at Fog City Midge, Maggie Vandenberg. Madison, Maggie, great to have you both back on the show.
Good to be back.
Good to see you, Grant.
All right, I hope I don't get this wrong. Madison, you're an attorney, correct?
Correct.
What do you make of the dismissal of the case against these Buffalo officers?
Well, as you mentioned before, it's obviously unfortunate to see this video and to see what ultimately happened to this man. But when you live in a hypersensitive society like we do today, people quickly react off of emotion when seeing these videos without taking into account the actual elements that you need when charging a crime. And so the legal question is not, did the man have an injury? But the question becomes, did what the police officers do actually meet the elements of assault, in this case being a federal assault charge? Of course, not only do they need to act and cause this harm, but they need to intend to do so. And so when you look at this, the criminal intent did not seem to be there. Of course, more evidence besides this one viral video was obviously presented to that grand jury, but there did not seem, and obviously was not, as they dismissed these charges, proof beyond a reasonable doubt that the officers acted recklessly or directly intended in a criminal way to cause the harm that was ultimately caused to this man.
Yeah. You know, you look, Maggie, at the video, and you hate to see it, but this man who has now come out, there have been reports that he's a professional protester, that he goes and he does these kinds of things. He put himself in the middle of a police line. There's another legal term called a reasonable person. Would a reasonable person think that that officer meant to crack the guy's skull open? And clearly from the push, it doesn't look that way. Maggie, what's your response to all of this?
It's just a bit odd, right, that we feel like now we have to report on every single time the police have an interaction with a private citizen. And you sort of look at what happened, and yes, it's unfortunate that the man fell in that way, but it doesn't appear that the police were acting maliciously. And we also have to think about, you know, I don't know. I remember when I saw that video over the summer, it was just kind of proof to me right there that we need to stop protesting and just take a deep breath, because sometimes the police do things that, you know, can look really bad. And maybe it's just a moment for us all to take a pause and say, hey, we need to look at what the police are doing and just sort of take a deep breath, because we don't necessarily know what the intent was with these things, and we need to just calm down.
People shouldn't be putting themselves in positions where harm can come of them. And that's from a personal protection guy. Don't put yourself in these positions and nothing's going to go wrong. Speaking of a little harm to a guy, Bruce Springsteen, the boss, as he's known, has this Jeep commercial out now. Apparently gets pulled over for reckless driving. They charge him with alcohol in his system. This is a guy who takes the high ground morally. Madison, what do you make of this?
Well, I understand the charges were actually from back in November, but just recently came out following the release of that Jeep commercial. I really take drinking and driving very seriously, and I think everyone should. But there's a lot that remains to be seen as to what exactly occurred that night. They say he did fail a field sobriety test. They asked him to take 18 steps. He took over 45. It's unclear as to whether he actually submitted to a breathalyzer and what the number was if he did so. So we'll see what happens with this, but I don't care who you are, whether you're Bruce Springsteen or just an average Joe, you know, in Ohio, you can't drink and drive. So this is, I think, pretty frustrating to see, and we see it all the time, and a lot of people have lost family members as a result of this type of behavior.
When I was a street reporter, Madison, when I was a street reporter back in the day, the worst crimes I saw were these drunk driving cases where teen girls are killed. You have families and infants that die. It's absolutely horrible. But, you know, Maggie, I can't help but think, this guy's a multi-gazillionaire. He can't have an Uber or a driver drive him around. What's even the point? Is he driving with alcohol in his car?
Yeah, you have to wonder, why was he driving that day? But also, it's really appalling to me that this ad was even allowed to air. I used to be a commercial actress in Hollywood. I've been in multiple car commercials for GM, Nissan, and Toyota. And there are very strict rules, and they ask actors when they're auditioning if they've ever had a DUI, and you're not allowed to appear in these commercials. So you have to wonder, if this happened back in November, did they know about it and not disclose this information? Or did they try to conceal it? Did he not disclose this to Jeep? You have to wonder what's really going on and why they would air this. And then, yeah.
Maggie means to tell me that a liberal elitist who takes the moral high ground over everyone may have been deceitful in what he told Jeep? I wonder.
Yeah.
Madison, Maggie, thank you both for coming on the program today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
All right. You got it. Up next on Stinchfield, the left always maintained that global respect for the U.S. suffered under President Trump. Well, guess what? Other heads of state think of us now under our new president.
If you've had it with the old news
and the same spent,
well, then Spicer & Company's your place.
for the inside story.
And for the facts that you need to know.
Imagine being free from the pain normal exercise can cause. Introducing the Teeter Free Step, featuring patented stride technology licensed from commercial high-end physical therapy equipment. Free Step is the only home-use stepper with this unique, gentle linear motion, delivering the best in low-impact exercise.